What is it about abandoned buildings that draws us in? The silence, the mystery, or perhaps the whispers of the past still echoing within their walls? Tonight, we bring you 3 spine-chilling encounters in abandoned places that will make you think twice before stepping inside. These are not just stories. They're accounts of fear, mystery, and the unexplained. Are you ready to explore the dark corners of the unknown? Story number 1. The Watcher in the Window, a haunting across the street. Ellie and Mara were excited to start their new lives in a small town. After years of cramped city apartments, they couldn't wait to move into the affordable rental house they'd found on a quiet street. Though many of the neighboring properties were abandoned, the house itself had charm. A wraparound porch, creaky wood floors, and a view of the countryside. At first, the eerie stillness of the street seemed like a blessing. No noisy neighbors, no traffic, just peace and quiet. But one night, as they unpacked boxes in the living room, Ellie's attention was drawn to the house across the street. Unlike the others, it wasn't boarded up. A single curtain-covered window faced them, its darkness impenetrable. "What do you think is in there?" Ellie asked, nodding toward the house. "Probably just another empty house," Mara replied, not looking up. But Ellie wasn't so sure. As she stared, she could have sworn she saw a flicker of movement behind the curtain. Shaking it off, she returned to unpacking. The days passed, and life in the new house began to feel routine. But Ellie couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Every time she glanced at the house across the street, the curtain in that window seemed slightly different, pulled back just enough to hint at someone standing behind it. One evening, while walking back from the corner store, Ellie stopped in her tracks. The curtain moved. It wasn't the gentle sway of the wind, but a deliberate, slow shift, revealing the faint outline of a person. "Someone's in that house," Ellie said breathlessly as she ran inside to tell Mara. Curiosity turned to obsession. The 2 friends began watching the house at night, lights off, their eyes trained on the window. Sometimes the curtain would move. Other times they'd swear they saw a shadow cross the glass. Finally, unable to resist, Mara suggested they investigate. "If someone's squatting in there, we should call the cops," she said. Ellie hesitated, but eventually agreed. Armed with flashlights, they crossed the street and crept up to the front door. It was unlocked. The air inside was damp and musty, the wooden floors warped from years of neglect. They moved cautiously, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. The living room was empty, save for a layer of dust and broken furniture. Then they saw it, the window, the same one they'd watched from their living room. A single chair sat facing it, and on the floor beneath the chair was a pile of cigarette butts, still fresh. Ellie felt her stomach turn. Someone's been sitting here, watching us. A creak from upstairs froze them in place. Mara grabbed Ellie's arm. "We need to leave. Now." As they turned to run, a figure appeared at the top of the stairs, a shadowy silhouette, tall and still. The sound of heavy, deliberate footsteps began descending toward them. Panic set in, and they sprinted out of the house, leaving the door wide open. That night, they packed their belongings and drove to a motel. The next morning, they broke their lease, never looking back at the house or the street. To this day, Ellie and Mara still wonder who or what was watching them. The thought of the shadow at the top of the stairs haunts them, a reminder that sometimes curiosity leads to more than you bargain for. Story number 2. The Crimson Basement, a college haunting gone wrong. Sam Torres was a sophomore at Ridgewood University, a campus surrounded by lore and mystery. The university had a long-standing reputation for being haunted, with one particular location often whispered about in late-night conversations: the old Belhaven dormitory. Abandoned for years, Belhaven sat at the edge of campus, its decaying structure casting long shadows under the moonlight. Sam had always been a skeptic, dismissing ghost stories as nothing more than overblown tales. But as Halloween approached, he felt a strange urge to explore the infamous dorm. Armed with his phone, a flashlight, and a mix of nerves and bravado, he set out to uncover the truth about Belhaven. The dormitory was as eerie as the stories claimed. The doors creaked on rusted hinges, the walls were peeling, and graffiti-covered surfaces hinted at years of neglect. Sam's flashlight beam danced across empty hallways littered with debris and forgotten furniture. As he wandered deeper into the building, Sam found a staircase leading to the basement. A chill ran down his spine, but curiosity got the better of him. Taking a deep breath, he descended into the darkness. The basement was colder than the rest of the dorm, the air heavy with an indescribable metallic scent. Sam's flashlight revealed a maze of old storage rooms and boiler equipment. But then, at the end of a long hallway, he spotted a door slightly ajar. red light flickering from within. His heart raced as he approached. Pushing the door open, he stepped into a room that froze him in place. The walls were smeared with a deep crimson substance, and strange symbols were etched into the concrete. In the center of the room stood a crude altar surrounded by burned-out candles. The red liquid pooled around the altar, thick and glistening under the flickering light of a single swinging bulb. Sam's mind raced. Was it paint? Blood? His stomach churned at the thought. Suddenly, a noise broke the silence, a faint rustling behind him. He spun around, but his flashlight revealed nothing. A wave of panic overtook him. He backed out of the room, his flashlight shaking in his trembling hands. As he turned to leave, a loud bang echoed from the far corner of the basement, followed by the unmistakable sound of footsteps. Sam didn't wait to investigate. He bolted up the stairs, his heart pounding as he sprinted out of the building. Back in his dorm room, Sam tried to shake off the fear. Maybe it was just his imagination, he thought, or some pranksters messing around. But as he settled into bed, he noticed something that made his blood run cold. Taped to his door was a piece of paper. The handwriting was jagged and uneven, as if written in haste. It read, "Stay out of the basement. You've seen too much." Sam left Ridgewood University a week later, transferring to a different school. He never told anyone about what he saw in Bellhaven dorm, but to this day, he can't forget the crimson symbols, the threatening note, or the overwhelming feeling that someone or something was watching him. Story number 3. The Haunted Rocking Chair. A terrifying neighbor's secret. 17-year-old Liam was used to quiet nights in his suburban neighborhood. After all, it wasn't the type of place where anything exciting happened. But the house next door to his had always been a little off. A dark, abandoned property with a sagging roof and ivy creeping up its cracked walls. Kids in the area told stories about it, claiming it was haunted, but Liam had always shrugged off the rumors. That changed one summer night. Liam was sitting in his room, scrolling through his phone, when he heard it, a faint creaking sound coming from next door. At first he thought it might be the wind, but the sound was rhythmic, like wood groaning under pressure. Curiosity piqued, he turned off his music and listened closely. The creaking continued, slow and deliberate, as if something or someone was inside the abandoned house. Unable to shake the unease creeping up his spine, Liam grabbed a flashlight and stepped outside. The neighborhood was silent, the streetlights casting long shadows. As he approached the dilapidated house, the noise grew louder. It was coming from the basement. The door to the house was ajar, its rusted hinges groaning as he pushed it open. The air inside was thick with the smell of mildew and decay. His flashlight illuminated a dusty living room filled with forgotten furniture, cobwebs stretching across every surface. "Hello?" he called out, his voice barely above a whisper. No answer. He followed the sound, his footsteps echoing on the creaky floorboards. The basement door stood slightly open, and the creaking was louder now, echoing from the depths below. With a deep breath, Liam descended the rickety stairs, his flashlight flickering as if warning him to turn back. At the bottom of the stairs, he froze. In the center of the dimly lit basement sat an old rocking chair, swaying back and forth, though no one was in it. The creaking sound filled the room, each movement of the chair sending a chill down his spine. "Is someone here?" he asked, his voice trembling. Before he could take another step, he felt a presence behind him, a shift in the air as though someone was standing just over his shoulder. He spun around, his flashlight sweeping the room, but there was no one there. Heart racing, Liam turned back to the chair, and that's when he saw it. A face in the basement window, pale and expressionless, staring straight at him. Panic set in. He bolted up the stairs, nearly tripping in his rush to get out. Once outside, he called the police, his voice shaking as he explained what he'd seen. When the officers arrived, they searched the house thoroughly. They found no one inside. The basement was empty, save for the rocking chair, which was now completely still. One officer tried to reassure Liam, suggesting it was likely kids playing a prank or his imagination running wild. But Liam knew better. He had felt it, the presence, the eyes watching him. That night, Liam couldn't sleep. Every creak of his own house made him jump, and every shadow seemed to shift. The rocking chair remained etched in his mind, a chilling reminder that some mysteries are best left unsolved. Abandoned buildings hold secrets, some better left undiscovered. Whether it's a silent watcher, a chilling warning, or something unseen rocking in the dark, these stories remind us that curiosity can sometimes lead to terror. Have you ever encountered the unexplainable in an abandoned place? Share your stories in the comments below, and remember, some doors are best left unopened.